NFPA 1851 training for footwear. The NFPA 1851 standard specifies the minimum selection, care, and maintenance requirements for structural firefighting protective ensembles and the individual ensemble elements, including footwear. It also establishes a step-by-step program for structural firefighting gear to reduce the safety and potential health risks associated with poorly maintained, contaminated, or damaged protective ensembles and ensemble elements. NFPA 1851 only applies to footwear that is certified to NFPA 1971. For purposes of this training on NFPA 1851 for footwear, we will address the following parts: inspection, both routine and advanced; cleaning, also both routine and advanced; repair, storage, and gear retirement. Before we begin, please note that Hikes provides a complete user guide for its structural firefighting boots in digital format. Each new boot will include a hang tag with a QR code that will take you to the Hikes user guide, or you can access it online at www.hikes.com/us/downloads. Every firefighter is responsible for making sure his or her boots are in overall good serviceable working condition when on the job. Guidelines in this training will help ensure that is always the case. Starting with routine inspection. Your department should have a preliminary exposure reduction plan in place for gear with either dry or wet mitigation techniques employed. This exposure reduction plan will set you up to do inspections. After each use, individual firefighters are responsible for the routine inspection of his or her Hikes footwear. Universal precautions should be used when deemed appropriate when handling Hikes footwear. At a minimum, individuals conducting inspections shall wear examination gloves certified to NFPA 1999. You may also consider wearing an apron, long sleeves, and/or respirators. Footwear should be inspected for the following: overall soiling, signs of contamination. Soles of the boot should be checked for cuts, tears, punctures, burns, or worn down tread. The boot upper should also be checked for cuts, tears, punctures, burns to the leather, which also includes charring, melting, or discoloration. You'll also want to check the stitching, eyelets, laces, and straps for tearing, ripping, burns, or fraying. Check the inner liner for the NFPA 1971 structural firefighting tag. Check for loss of seam integrity and broken or missing stitches. Check boots for loss of water resistance and/or holes in the inner liner. When applicable, check the closure system for damage to functionality. Check for an exposed or deformed steel toe, steel midsole, or shank. Advanced inspection. At a minimum of every 12 months or when a routine inspection determines potential damage, an advanced inspection of Hikes footwear should be conducted by a verified independent service provider, or ISP, or the department's trained personnel. Trained personnel must receive new training with each new revision of the NFPA 1851 standard. All findings should be documented on the inspection form. Universal precautions should be followed while doing advanced inspections. At a minimum, people conducting inspections shall wear examination gloves certified to NFPA 1999. You may also want to consider wearing an apron, long sleeves, and/or use a respirator. Footwear should be inspected on a clean surface in a brightly lit area for the following: soiling, contamination, cuts, tears, punctures, splitting or cracking, embrittlement of the leather layer, rubber toe cap or soles, loss of seam integrity, delamination, or broken or missing stitches. Also check for an exposed or deformed steel toe, steel midsole, or shank. You'll also want to check for the following: thermal damage, which includes charring, burn holes, melting, or discoloration of any layer. Loss of water resistance, closure system component damage or functionality, excessive tread wear, heel counter failure, and inspect the lining for tears, excessive wear, or excessive separation from the outer layer. Routine cleaning is the responsibility of the end user. Steps for cleaning include: hand wash your Hikes footwear in a utility sink with warm water and a wet shoe brush or other soft brush. Do not use heavy abrasion or scrubbing. Do not use saddle soaps or soaps that contain fats. Do not use bleach or chlorinated detergents, as even small amounts of chlorine will reduce the protective qualities. Do not use detergent. Mild dish soap is recommended. Use water that is less than 110 degrees Fahrenheit. The insole of the Hikes footwear can be removed and washed in a washing machine in cold water on a delicate cycle. After cleaning, it's important to dry your boots correctly. Here are some steps for proper drying. Air dry the removable insoles. Air dry the footwear after removing the insoles. Drying racks provide maximum air exposure and reduced drying time. Do not dry footwear in direct or indirect sunlight or fluorescent light. Do not machine dry. Do not dry in front of open windows, hot ovens, or radiators. Dry them slowly. Maintain the exterior leather of your footwear with a professional-grade silicone-based polish. Petroleum-based products may be flammable and may significantly reduce the flame or heat resistance of your footwear. When cleaning, universal precautions should be observed when applicable. Always clean your Hikes footwear separately from other items. Never clean footwear at home or at a public laundry facility to avoid the spread of chemical contamination or other hazardous combustion products. If your footwear fails to be sufficiently clean after routine cleaning, the footwear shall receive advanced cleaning. Advanced cleaning. Advanced cleaning shall only be performed by a verified ISP or the department's trained personnel. Hikes footwear shall receive advanced cleaning at the time of inspection if not subjected to advanced cleaning in the last 12 months. Hikes recommends cleaning footwear at least every 6 months or as soon as possible after contamination or exposure to smoke, blood, bodily fluids, hazardous substances, or hazardous liquid chemicals. Disinfectant should be approved by and registered with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and shall be registered as a tuberculocidal. Disinfectants should be non-toxic and non-flammable. Any repair made to Hikes footwear should only be done at a Hikes North America authorized repair center. Unauthorized repairs made to footwear invalidates all warranties and may expose the wearer to hazardous or life-threatening conditions. Before any repair is made, footwear should be cleaned, decontaminated, and disinfected. Between incidents and for longer-term storage, store your footwear out of direct and indirect sunlight, fluorescent light, and away from sharp objects. Exposure to light, particularly sunlight and fluorescent light, will severely weaken and damage components such as the moisture barriers, Nomex laces, and thread in your footwear within a few days. Damage caused by exposure to light cannot be repaired and will not be covered by warranty. You can use fans indirectly to provide good ventilation to dry your footwear that may have absorbed water or sweat after a fire run. Moisture in your footwear will reduce your insulation, comfort, and overall protection during structural firefighting operations. Failure to dry your footwear will result in growth of mildew and bacteria, which could lead to skin irritation, rashes, or may affect the protective qualities of the footwear. Always clean and dry your footwear in accordance with the guidelines given previously before placing in long-term storage. Avoid storing your footwear in temperature extremes. Repeated cycles of heating and cooling can reduce the protective qualities and useful life of the footwear. Never store your footwear in living quarters with personal belongings or within the passenger compartment of a vehicle. Retirement. Useful life is the period of time that NFPA compliant footwear, which has been properly used and cared for, can be expected to provide reasonable protection. Useful life is normally 3 years depending on boot construction and the conditions of the wear, maintenance, and storage. It is unlikely to be more than 5 years. As a general rule, Hikes recommends footwear to be retired when the costs of the repair exceed 50% of the replacement costs. Footwear should also be retired in instances of damage that is not possible or cost-effective to be repaired, or contamination that is not possible to be cleaned safely or effectively. Useful life will vary according to type and frequency of use, the weight, and the type of materials used in the footwear. However, it is Hikes' opinion that footwear more than 5 years old and made to earlier NFPA standards are highly likely to have exceeded its useful life and should be retired. The following factors affect the useful life of your footwear: age and frequency of use, the number of and type of previous repairs, the type of work the wearer performed, the length of exposure to extreme heat and the intensity of the heat, the length of exposure to hazardous chemicals, the length of exposure to direct or indirect sunlight or other light sources such as fluorescent light, and footwear that is more than 5 years old. Damage caused by use of non-authorized replacement parts. Replacement of zippers worn improperly, incompletely zipped, or damaged by heavy wear and tear. Damage or wear to the inner or outer heel area in zipper-style boots without proper closure of zippers. Damage to inner liner by donning and doffing zipper footwear without properly opening the zipper. And footwear not properly cleaned or polished. NFPA 1851 states that structural firefighting ensembles and ensemble elements shall be retired no more than 10 years from the date of manufacture. This is not an indication that your gear should last a full 10 years. The standard's intention is simply preventing gear from staying in the field longer than 10 years. Retired uncontaminated footwear must be destroyed to prevent its unauthorized or mistaken use. Cut the uncontaminated, retired footwear into pieces and dispose of properly. Retired footwear that is contaminated with blood or body fluids or hazardous chemicals should be placed in a plastic bag and properly disposed of according to federal, state, and local regulations. Never use retired footwear for training purposes. Use of retired footwear in hazardous situations could result in serious injury. This concludes NFPA 1851 training. For more information, visit the link below. Thank everyone for tuning in. Everyone take care and stay safe.